After that, when I get judged, it's like, don't worry, I'm the one going home with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love you the most.
So in sickness and in health, so he's the one who made you sick, lah. So okay. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sharul Channa, and this is a show called Beyond Within. And this has been organized by TheHomeGround, which specializes in community stories and community news. And today I have 4 wonderful, strong, successful women with me, whom I'd like to introduce. Of course, we have Geeta, we've got Dr. Martha Tara Lee, we've got Christine, and we've got Carol. So I'd love to introduce them, but I think that they should introduce themselves first before we add on why we're here today and why we are sitting down and having a discussion about women who have been through trauma, come out strong, and they have a special message for you. So, Dr. Martha, why don't you start and tell me what you do and why are we here?
Yeah, so my name is Martha, and I'm a relationship counselor, clinical sexologist. I've been doing this for 12 years. And I help people when it comes to their relationships and sexuality.
Sure. And you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, long time, 12 years.
12 years, wow, okay. Geeta, yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Geeta. So I've been a dental practice manager for at least 24 years now in this industry, been long. Have come out to now create awareness for women empowerment and mental awareness, mainly for women and people struggling out there to break some stereotypes and the word taboo that's being used. Yeah.
Sure. And Christine?
Hi, my name is Christine, and I'm the founder of Nu Ren Secret Club. It's a community for women where I want to actually engage them to join us, to grow together, to share their stories, and also to empower them, to connect and to create opportunity for them.
Perfect. And Carol?
Hello everybody, I'm Carol, and thank you for having me here. I am a confidence coach. I help women to rediscover their inner confidence, the inner goddess, so that they can live the life that they want. Well, how it all started, it was because growing up, I didn't have a lot of confidence as a child, and that led to a downward spiral and making wrong choices in life. And having been through that whole situation, then I wanted to be able to be in a position to support other women to be more confident.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So all you women have done fantastic work in your own fields. Well, I'm a stand-up comedian, but I know we're talking about serious issues. I'll try to make it as light as possible, but I think it's more important to make light of the situation that we're talking about. And all of you spoke about this one word, mental wellness. So I think all of us have been through some sort of problem. As you said, Carol, you had some sort of trauma that you went through and you made some decisions that you thought were wrong. And Geeta, you said you also advocate mental wellness. So let's start with the trauma bit of it and let's get down to your personal experiences of what caused the trauma. And since you mentioned, Carol, about childhood, we'll start with you first and tell us what is it that you went through.
Well, I guess, for me growing up in the Asian community and being Chinese, there's always this underlying, suppression in a way. So I was told that I can't voice my opinion. Then the best is I should speak only when I'm spoken to. Also, that I shouldn't be too smart in case I am not desirable by the opposite sex. So there's this confusing message that I had growing up. It's like, I cannot be too smart, I cannot voice my view, then, so what's my identity? So I didn't really have a lot of identity. And the message that I got was my identity was attached to how well I marry. So my entire life growing up since childhood was, okay, as long as I am not too smart, then I just blend into the background. I didn't strive to be academically successful. Also, that the idea is, okay, well, eventually I'm going to marry, so why do I try anyway? So then the confidence level wasn't really there because no one was there to tell me that I can be who I want to be. The sky is the limit. And so that was the whole thing. And so I didn't have that kind of that love and the confidence that was being given to me. So I seek validation externally through friends and then through men.
Right, and I think that's one thing that being from the Indian community as well, we are, of course, we are being groomed for marriage, right? I mean, you could be educated, but once you get married, then you have to listen to what your husband does, or his career decisions are much more important than yours. And I've seen that personally in the community as well. So Geeta, would you like to add on to the marriage bit of it? As she said that, they seek validation from men, and women sort of put themselves at second place. So what do you say?
I think I agree with that. I think talking from my own experience, even though my marriage was sort of, I would say, more of arranged, and then eventually here being in Singapore, I think we are a bit more open and we get to know one another, and then we decide on getting married. Now, I think everybody would say that when you start off a marriage, nothing is bad. You always start off on a good note, and then along the way you start learning about one another, and it takes years to understand one another. And I think in my experience, what happened was I never had that voice, that every time that there is something to say, you are then pressed on it, and not able to voice out was difficult because it was painful, right? You cannot express yourself. And voicing out and being vocal does not mean that you're debating with someone, but you're putting your opinion across. At the end of the day, we can always come to an agreement, but that was never the case. It was always the guy who had to make decisions, who was judgmental, I would say, in that sense, that, and constantly being pinned down, in things that you say, in how independent you are, and of certain things that you're not able to do, and then on that it's being harped on, that, you're not able to do, And the other thing, I think, I'm not sure, but being in the Indian community, I experienced this, that everything that is done bad, or any mistake that is done, it is then reflected upon your parents. So I think there's a level of tolerance, not only in us women or us four of us who went through what we did, but at a certain level, I think we should come out to say enough is enough. I honestly hung on to my marriage because of my children. I got divorced, and I initiated my divorce after 11 years of marriage, and that's a long time, to be married to someone and to go through ups and downs with someone. And you thought, when you get married, you never think of divorce, right? Because you want to hang on to that for the rest of your life. You want to grow old with the person. And then you're hanging on to that because of your children, and you realize that you're only giving or creating more harm.
Hold on to that thought, because even Aware, actually, they shared an article recently saying that it's way more harmful for the children if you stay in a bad marriage. So I'm glad that you recognize the kind of abuse that you were going through, whether it was emotional, mental, physical, and stepped out of it. And we'll want to talk more about what you did to help yourself as well. But Dr. Martha, please talk about your experience in your marriages.
Yes, so I'm very embarrassed about saying it, because actually, as a person who is, I guess, micro-influencer because of the work that I do, I actually have never really publicly said this, which is that I'm twice divorced. And the first one was when I was young. I was 21 when I first got married, and divorced by the time I was 26. Then with the second marriage, that was when I started to be a sexologist. And I had a lot of embarrassment around it, that what, you're a sexologist, you mean you can't keep your guy? So I always had that fear of telling people that I'm twice divorced. I really felt like a failure, especially with the second one, because they were very, very similar. Both of them were psychologically abusive. Both of them were very telling me bad things about me. My second husband, especially, he is so highly intelligent, and he was so covert about the ways he did it, that it really tore me down bit by bit. And he was so subtle about it that I didn't realize the damage that he did until the end of the relationship.
And because we are in the Asian community, right, and we're talking about divorce here, women who have chosen to step out of their marriages for whatever reason, it could be emotional abuse, it could be physical abuse, it could be mental abuse, or all three. I notice a trend where people don't recognize emotional abuse at all, because the first question when you want to step out of your marriage is that, did he hit you? And they said, no, he didn't hit me, but he emotionally abused me. And the Asian community does not understand emotional abuse at all. And so I see a trend, a sort of a trend in our community where emotional abuse is not recognized at all. And I think they should recognize it. And I think it does a lot of damage to women, even men. We're not, of course, doing this to say that all men are terrible, but we see that it is a function of the society and that we are just a part of a society that needs to change. Where do you think you draw the line and say, now I got to step out?
If I may share my experience.
Yes, please.
Hearing all of your stories, there's a lot of triggers. I have all these memories that was triggered. So, my story is quite similar to Mara. To be very frank, there were signs in my last marriage, and I chose to ignore it. Reason because of our vows, in sickness and in health, that to death do us part. So I stuck to that, and also because there's this, I would say, the societal acceptance of divorce, going through a divorce.
Yep.
It seems it's like it's always the woman's fault. Because I did try and talk to my family about it. I don't think my husband is treating me very well. And my mom, she didn't know. I didn't want to tell her everything because how do you draw the line?
Yeah.
If you talk about the psychological abuse, as you said, it's a bit difficult. She'll be like, oh, maybe you just, it's marriage. You fight sometimes. Yeah, do that with your father too. Just maybe. And then my father would tell me, you're not very good tempered yourself. So maybe you should try to give in. Yeah. And then sometimes, just for the sake of the marriage, maybe he's stressed out, so give in. So that's what I've been taught to do. He's tired. Okay, maybe he's very hard at work, he's stressed out, and I should be a bit more understanding as a wife. So, and there were signs like, he cheated on me.
Okay, so cheating on the partner, all right, yep.
So I wanted to, and then of course, he came and apologized, gave me flowers and really felt sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so he treated me well after that.
Did he repeat these mistakes?
It did, but the thing is I only found out much later. Because the thing is that there's throughout our whole 13 years of union, 13 years together, 10 years of marriage, he would seek attention of other women. Yeah, we have close relationships. Oh, they're just friends, it's fine. We're just friends. I'm just someone that I work with. Yeah. Or he would, try and maybe court the woman just to make himself feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are some of the signs. And in a way it was, he wanted to make me feel jealous. But then after that, when I get jealous, like, don't worry, I'm the one going home with you.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I love you the most.
So in sickness and in health, so he's the one who made you sick, lah. So okay. We so that's a sign. Okay, so it was of course the first time he cheated. A sign that you always will see a sign. For any of y'all, the first trigger. If you had a chance to leave way before, what was your first trigger that sort of made you realize that this is something that is wrong, but you ignored it? What is the sign? First whichever marriage. Whoever wants to talk about it.
I think I'll share my side a bit. I think thinking back now, it's a bit hilarious. But you know what? I should have done it at that point of time. I used to live with my ex-mother-in-law, and the only reason for that was because we as a couple thought that maybe when we have kids and then having someone at home who is of a family member will help, right? Because we are working people. So I would say my ex-mother-in-law told me before that, I used to have, any relationship, with your spouse, you will have a bit of tiff here and there. And so did we. And my ex-mother-in-law said, oh, you know what, Geeta? A man can actually stand and pee wherever they want, but a woman should not or cannot. And so it actually translates to a man can do anything they want, a woman should just keep quiet. So, and I told my mother-in-law then, that I don't come from the village, I'm not the kind where I'm going to sit and keep quiet if my man does something wrong. If he does something wrong, I should be able to question my husband. We are equal in that sense. I should be able to speak as much as he can speak. I'm an independent woman. I did my degrees and I'm working today to where I am. It's all myself, or with my help of my parents who supported me along the way. So I do have a voice, and voicing out doesn't mean that I'm fighting back or anything. It's being equal.
Yes.
Right? So it did not appear to her that way. So I thought at that point of time, I don't know if I can actually say that the whole family was cultivated that way, and I was in that, and I thought that, being an Indian community, and I had my parents at the back of me, where their reputation is one, because in the Indian community, it's always about reputation and face value and whatnot. I'm speaking because I come from that culture.
Other than men, the women also enable this kind of behavior because they are in that circle, right? And so they keep enabling this kind of behavior. So you actually hearing this from your mother-in-law.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure she's a good person otherwise, but where their mind has been and what they might have been taught being a woman.
Absolutely.
Maybe I think we are always taught that we're not the same, it's man, woman, animal, And so that sign, of course, is when you can see that people are not supporting around you or in that environment, and they are red flags.
Exactly.
Right? How about yourself, Christine?
I want to add on with what Geeta has said.
Yeah.
It's also the same for the Chinese tradition. And my in-law, my ex-mother-in-law was also very nice. Okay, so I stay with them after my kids were born, all the way when we were married. And one day she came home. She said, I was in the kitchen. She was telling me, Christine, you should get a bowl of soap for your husband. Then I was like, why can't he do it himself? Then she was like, you are the wife, you should serve him and take the soap for him. Then I was like, he worked very tired and things like that. I said, I also just came back from work, why can't he take for me and then I have to take for him? So she was like, she ignored me. So for me, because I am very vocal, so sometimes I will say back. So for their tradition is, you are married, you have to take care of the kids, you have to, take care of your husband, and you still have to bring money back to the table. Then I asked my mother-in-law, then why I need my husband for? I straight away told her that. So that's the thing is, when you ask where is your line, it's about self-worth. Where is your self-worth at? What is your limit? Where do you limit yourself?
So that's a very interesting line. Where do you place yourself?
Yes.
Right? How important are you to yourself? Where do you place your self-worth? And self-esteem comes into play, which means that if someone is damaging your self-esteem to a point where you have to keep questioning yourself, either by words, by behavioral patterns, or of course abuse, that's the time to walk away. Because if they're not contributing to your well-being, you have to walk away. I think we can all agree to that. Martha, if you want to add anything to that, a sign or a signal where okay, now I got to move. What made you move when you said after 15 months? What made you move?
It was very difficult because it's my second marriage, and it's so embarrassing because it's tied to my profession. And I mentioned the story about my husband saying, you handle it. I felt very, very alone in the relationship. Was really thinking of harming myself, killing myself, and walking around like a zombie, and feeling there's no life, there's no vitality to anything that I did, which is, I think, very, very similar to what they're saying. So we are really, really at the verge of giving up on life. And you just feel like, that you're alive, but you might as well be dead. When I often had that feeling, I knew it was really, really wrong. So I had to ask myself, is my marriage more important than staying alive? And I also didn't want to stay alive in this way because I wasn't really happy, and I knew it was affecting my practice. And if I have a practice where everything that I do is about helping people, and I am in a relationship that is destroying me, then I cannot do my work. I cannot do my work. So I had to choose, do I keep my life and help people, or do I stay in a marriage where the person is using me, abusing me, and sponging off me, and telling me, how come you're not at work?
I have to put you at ease though. Some of the best relationship experts have at least been married 3 or 4 times. And that's why you're a relationship expert.
Yes.
You need to meet different kind of people, date them, marry them. You need to understand what your specimen, what you're dealing with.
So when my clients ask me, you can't even keep your marriage together, what makes you think you can help us? So I said yes. There were many things that I didn't know, and I wish I knew, and I had to learn the hard way. So that is the reason. All the more I don't want your marriage to suffer. So I want, and I have gone and learned a lot of things that I really want to support my clients as much as possible.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Next time anybody tells you that, just tell them that even like heart doctors have to go for bypass surgery at times. So it's not like because they're a heart doctor, they cannot have a heart attack, right? I mean, doesn't make sense at all. So please tell them next time, like, why is that? You know, you can question them. So there's one thing that all of us have, of course, touched on, and that's mental health. So we've recognized the triggers. When it starts affecting your mental health, now there's again another stigma that if you first, of course, your emotional abuse, is it recognized as abuse, mental abuse? Once you recognize that it is affecting your self-worth and you decide to walk out, how important it is it to seek help from a therapist if your mental health is suffering? I mean, we've spoken about depression, suicidal thoughts, walking around like a zombie, not knowing how to help yourself. How important, I mean, how do we break that taboo that mental health and talking to a therapist doesn't mean you're mad? Where Asian communities still think so. I've met a therapist before as well. So your experience of talking to women, because you also run an organization where women come and speak to you, how do you feel about that?
It's great, but of course I am not a therapist, a consultant or counselor. I have no background with any psychologies or understanding people, but I understand by listening to them. Sometimes I have this mental member. She has a mental issues. She actually opened up to me and tell me that, and I'm open to listen to her issues also. And one day, just 2 days back, she messaged me, Christine, I need to talk to you. You just need to listen to my message. I need a listening ear. I say, fine, go ahead. Then she tell me that her issues, blah blah blah. Then I also replied. I think mindset is very important. I told her what I think is right. I said, this is what I think, but it's not necessary you have to follow. So I analyzed her issues, and she said, yeah, I think it's me. She said, yes, I think it's me that I have this kind of thought.
Yeah.
And she said she's crying, she's depressed, blah, blah, blah. And after I told her, you need to, this is what I'm telling you. You have to go and decide whether you want to do this or you want to do that. That will cause worse, more pain to you.
Yep.
And then she said, yes, I think, dilemma, sometimes people is like that. I want to do this, but this thing is holding me back. So actually by doing this, it will be better for you. So she told me that, Christine, I follow what you have told me to, and I'm much more happier now. Thank you so much. That kind of message really brightened my day, because I'm not helping someone, but I'm just telling them what I think is right if I am in this position.
Sure. So is it right to say, so as Geeta said, that, of course, talking to a therapist, having a good support system, having someone who can listen to you, picking up a spot. I will just ask Martha and Carol on this side, what other things can be done, or do you recommend, other than what these ladies have already mentioned?
Well, for me, I didn't leave the marriage. In fact, he left me for a younger woman.
Okay.
And he also emptied my bank account. So I was left without a home, without any money, and having to fend on my own. And I was afraid to reach out for the shame, because I felt a lot of shame. So, and I was afraid to tell my parents, because I was afraid that they would come back to me and say, oh, I told you so. And I was afraid that if I were to share with my girlfriends, they may judge me. Yeah. So I was alone at that time, and it's about having someone that I can trust. I mean, just randomly, I just didn't know. I just had a name that popped up in my head. This girlfriend who had gone through divorce, because I don't want to go to all my girlfriends, who are happily married, because I don't think that they will understand. So I thought maybe she may understand. I didn't know her very well at all. I picked up the phone and say, he left me and I've got no money. I needed help. So having that, being able to reach out, I think that would be the most important thing. Yes, we will have community. We definitely have the community. You need to have that support, and then and I didn't know, and I didn't want to go and seek therapy, because I don't want to be deemed as crazy. I don't want to be deemed as I'm having a problem, because the shame was already there. I just wanted someone who was without any judgment, just come and then just maybe hold me for a little bit.
Yeah.
And she was the person who really changed my life. She dragged me to a coach to say, well, you can go to therapy, which I did. I went, but I didn't feel that I'm going anywhere. It seems that I kept dwelling in the same thing.
Right. So it was not, as we said, that it might work for a certain percentage, but not for everybody. Right?
Yeah. So I think it's good to have girlfriends that you can trust to really share the problem.
Okay.
That was actually what happened for me.
If you're watching this as well, and if someone calls you up with help and seeking help, maybe a listening ear would also help. Maybe sometimes you cannot give an opinion, and because we see Facebook all the time and people are trying to live the best lives online, so there's so much of pressure, right? Online, where you're going, this person's couple picture has about 200 likes, must be they're very happy. But the fact that we all know, the scientists say that people who keep posting about their relationships might also be suffering, right? So of course, therapy might not be for everybody. Going to a coach also helped you, and also picking up the phone and having the courage to tell someone that I have a problem. Martha, how did you personally get out of it?
I had depression both times when I separated from my husbands, and with my first husband, I did go to a life coach that I just saw giving a talk in the library, and something about her just resonated with me. So I actually paid a lot of money for at that time with what I had for that, because I didn't know what would help me. I didn't know, and so that started me on my path of personal development and spiritual development, and a lot of the things that was taught to me was really the start of inner work. And I continue to do those practices and teach them now. And I'm very happy that I'm able to use what I've learned to help people. But anyway, so what actually helped me the most was exercise. Exercise really helps. Exercise is something natural that helps you with hormonal balance. And so I'm glad Geeta did dance. That worked for her. At that time, I had a gym membership, so I went to the gym every day because I knew the loneliest and most difficult times were at night when I was alone in the house. We still had a house then, and I would be like hyper vigilant. Like, is someone gonna come into the house and rob me or rape me? Then I would be like listening for like the water drops, like the neighbors, and like, do they know that I'm living by myself during that separation time? Yeah.
So this is, I mean, and I'd like to wrap this up, but what I'd like to say is, of course, firstly, recognizing the triggers in your marriages, right? Recognizing the trigger, where your self-worth is, and where do you sort of draw the line where you're going, okay, I'm not going to take any more than this and I have to walk out. And the things that you can do to help yourself, of course, talking to a friend, talking to a therapist, picking up a hobby, journaling, setting up your own organization that helps women. And I think that what we do is, if all you women know organizations, and of course your organization as well, at the end of this video, we're going to have, of course, all of those listed out where women can reach out. Women can reach out, men can reach out. And I think this is not only a problem that women have. I think what I'd like to say is that, yes, we are talking to 4 women who have been through their own struggles, but I think that this problem it's across genders. I mean, there's so many, a lot of suicide cases among men as well, men and women alike. So what I'd like to say is that I'm so happy that all of you shared your stories, which would help so many other women there who have either not stepped out of their bad marriages and are still going through a tough time, and B, for people to evaluate themselves, how they can either improve things or move on to better things, and how then they can help themselves mentally, emotionally, physically. And of course, for the general public, if someone's calling you and asking for help, call back that girlfriend who has called you and given you 2-3 missed calls. I am very proud of all that you all have achieved, and I come from a place of being another woman who has seen enough of my extended relatives who have been in bad marriages and never left, and of course are completely destroyed. And so I'm so proud of what all of you have done, and I hope that the Asian community can recognize that we have to break these taboos and we need to move ahead to a better future. So thank you so much, HomeGround, for getting us together. And right after this, there will be some numbers and some organizations that you'll be able to reach out, of course, given by our wonderful ladies. So please contact if you need any kind of help or you just want a listening ear. I'm Sharul Channa, and we're so glad to have all of you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.